Charles Martinet, the voice of Mario, has officially retired from voicing the famous mascot, according to an official post made by Nintendo on their Twitter.
On Monday, Nintendo stated that they were moving Charles into the new role of Mario Ambassador. What that actually means isn't quite clear just yet, though.
While this is sad news, it isn't exactly surprising, as a few perceptive viewers of the new Mario trailer notice that Mario doesn't sound the same.
Wowie zowie!
But welcome to NecroNews, the show where we cover the hottest gaming news from the last week.
If you'd like to keep up to date with the latest gaming news, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to be notified when a new episode uploads.
Goodbye, Charles. You have bing bing your last wahoo.
We have Denuvo news, and none of it is about it going away. I'm sorry.
So Denuvo, a program that totally doesn't slow down your computer, has revealed a new feature called Unreal Engine Protection. This new feature was developed to prevent malicious users from manipulating games created in Unreal Engine. Duh.
And what this basically means is that game data files are going to be harder to decrypt, and they're going to be harder to access in general. It'll also block the use of in-game debug consoles, which is very nice for modding. And while it's going to be useful for stopping a little piracy, it could also make modding a game significantly harder.
Which means fights like what's happening behind us right now would probably be much more difficult. Unfortunately though, the bad news doesn't stop there.
Yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but Denuvo has partnered up with Nintendo. Of course, to be the first security partner for the Nintendo Developer Portal, meaning that developers will have access to Denuvo's tools and documentation while making Switch games.
Denuvo claims that this will stop PC emulation of Switch games that decide to use the technology. They go on to state the following.
By blocking unauthorized emulation on PC, studios are able to increase their revenue during the game launch window, which is the most important period for monetization. The Nintendo Switch emulator protection will ensure that anyone wishing to play the game has to buy a legitimate copy.
And as an advocate for game archiving, I personally hate this stance, as it only further complicates archiving games that are otherwise lost to time.
And what could make things worse is that despite what Denuvo claims, the software does impact performance. This is well documented on PC. So what does that mean for the Switch, which already has performance issues for some of its higher end games like Dragon Quest XI, which I had slowdowns frequently. It was terrible.
Don't forget Breath of the Wild.
Oh yes, how could we forget a first-party Nintendo game?
I'd say let us know what you guys think about this in the comments, but I'm pretty sure we already know what you guys think. But go ahead and tell us anyway.
So the Dorito Pope kicked off Gamescom this week, and if you missed it, his opening was crashed this year.
About it. Yes, exactly. All right.
Security quickly took care of the Defender, while Jeff Knightley talked over the interruption by saying it was disappointing to have someone act this way on a night to celebrate games, before tweeting out, "Let the show go on."
Defender or offender?
The defender of memes. I know what I said.
But of course, there were a lot of games that were announced at Gamescom. Noticeable reveals in the announcement include Alan Wake will be playable in Alan Wake 2, Turok 3 and Star Wars Dark Forces will be getting remasters, and Sonic Frontiers is getting the Final Horizon update, which is going to have a new story, new playable characters, and new challenges.
Yay, Sonic. But that's not everything. Look at all these games scrolling on the screen right now. It's like one of those old music commercials we used to have on Cartoon Network at 3 a.m. Oh, and also Grime 2. That's coming out. Grime is a solid game. You should give it a shot if you've never heard of it.
Bioware, the company responsible for games such as Dragon Age, Jade Empire, and Mass Effect, have just fired 50 employees in an attempt to meet the needs of upcoming projects. How exactly lessening the workforce helps meet the needs of upcoming projects? I don't know.
Well, according to manager Gary McKay, this layoff will ensure that they shift towards a more agile and more focused studio, which honestly doesn't make any sense to me, but you know what? These are the same people that created this masterpiece.
My scanner would literally become a remnant mystery detector.
Your enthusiasm is infectious.
Let's not forget that they're also the same company that thought 3 different colors were a good enough representation of choices over 3 games. But anyway, it's also worth noting that allegedly some of the staff that has been let off include senior staff such as Mary Kirby, who's responsible for several key characters and companions in the Dragon Age series.
Honestly, with Baldur's Gate 3 having come out and completely smashing all expectations, and Dragon Age Dreadwolf getting delayed internally as often as it has been, I just don't see BioWare being around much longer. But you know what? That's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Last year, Total Warhammer 3 was released and it did not receive good reception. The game was rough and buggy, the campaign sucked, and no one was happy about it.
Over the past year, however, the developers Creative Assembly and Feral Interactive have been working to address various issues within the game, as well as adding content such as Immortal Empires mode, which was a typical conquest-style game.
Finally, the game was starting to edge into positive territory on the Steam store, which is pretty impressive since it had been negative or mixed since it was released. So everyone was happy, and the king of fixing broken games, Sean Murray, smiled down from space. And then they f***ed it up.
So what happened was pre-orders for the latest highly anticipated major expansion went live recently at the price point of $24.99. While this seems appropriate for an expansion pack with a lot of content, it was discovered that this DLC added very little to the game.
In fact, when compared to the older game's DLC, not only is the included content for such a major expansion pack significantly lesser, it's also far more expensive. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back, as many were already upset by the DLC prices, especially for this game, but they were happy enough with Immortal Empires mode that it was mostly a minor gripe.
So, the game's player base has retaliated in the only way that matters to investors, review bombing. Now the game sits at overwhelmingly negative, only a few weeks after getting a positive rating. And who's to blame, Booster? Who do you think is to blame? That's right, it's likely that this is Diego's doing, though developer Creative Assembly isn't free of guilt either, as they may have set the price themselves.
Final story this week doesn't have a whole lot of meat, but a lot of speculation. It looks like Microsoft is selling off the rights to stream Activision Blizzard games to Ubisoft.
This will be done in an attempt to appeal to the UK CMA, which blocked the merger again on the 22nd.
So there's no word on if it's approved or not, but it does put a light on what Xbox really thinks about the future of gaming. Streaming only, I guess. Personally, I don't want to live in that world. It'll be a world of you'll own nothing and you'll be happy.
No, Booster, it's you'll pay nothing and you'll be happy.
Oh.
And that's it for this week. And here's all the upcoming games.
Look at all these games! For this week's Buried Alive banger, we're doing something a little different. It's not that this game isn't well known or it wasn't highly anticipated, but in a month where so many highly anticipated games have come out, this one kind of went under the radar. So this week's Buried Alive banger is Blasphemous II.
Blasphemous II continues the story from the previous game with the same heart and care that made the game popular to begin with. If you like Metroidvanias and strangely violent Christian-like imagery, high gameplay, and beautiful pixel artwork, give the game a go.
All under the dictate of the oldest penitent, Eviterno, father of the penitents.
Here's a schedule for next week. It's more of the same, but watch out for those secret streams.
Let us know what you guys thought about this week's stories in the comments below. And if you liked the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up.
And subscribe to the channel if you want to keep up to date with the latest gaming news. It helps us grow.
As always, we appreciate all the support you've given us, especially recently, and you guys make doing these videos worth it. Until next time.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.